All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Jack's World of Wildlife. And we are going to get right into another, I don't know why I say that, another. It's not another, it's another live stream. So we'll wait for people to kind of trickle in. If you're on Instagram, let's hop on over to YouTube because pretty much from here on out, I will be answering the YouTube questions, and we'll go from there. Here's our shirt. This is a nice premium tee. If you want a t-shirt, you can buy them. Link is in the description of this video. I made sure to get this put together so that we can have the video with all the links, because last week we had a few people asking about Patreon, a few people asking about merch. All those links are already in the description of this video. Hey, everybody's starting to trickle in. So if you're on the Instagram, move on over to the live. Howdy, everybody, and we'll get started. So I think we'll start off with a few questions. You guys can ask me a few questions, and then we will go from there. I have some other stuff I want to try to talk about, maybe brainstorm with you guys, maybe future video ideas. I do remember you. Yep. Day one, right? Day one. All right, so feel free, ask me any sort of questions, and we will get going. Let's think here. But in the meantime, while we wait, everybody seems to be a little shy. We'll wait for a few more people to kind of trickle in. Okay, here's a question. How many hours go into studying and prepping for what animals you want to find and film when you travel? Oh, great question. A lot. I would say it would be incalculable, because I've spent so much of my own time and energy studying this stuff already in the past tense. But to specifically cram and study for a trip, like I said, I buy a bunch of, I still have my Australian field guide out from last week. I buy a ton of field guides and I read them pretty much I go through them every day for, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks before I leave, and then I have them with me wherever I go when I'm on location. So if maybe it's heat of the day and we're going to relax and we're not going to be looking for animals because it's too hot, I'll sit, lay in the bed and I'll be reading that stuff. So it's always good to be prepared. I try and kind of be on my toes and be on my feet about making sure that I'm going to know exactly what I need to know to film my videos. All right, so we're going to shut down the Instagram. If you're on the Instagram, hop on over to YouTube and watch our live from YouTube. And we will be doing a live for about an hour over on YouTube, and we'll be answering questions and talking about what we're maybe hoping to do this year. So hop on over to YouTube, playlist, live streams. Should say that it's live now. All right, thank you. Let's see here. All right. We got all that out of the way. Great question. A lot of time. I always try and be prepared because we don't really like a lot of nature channels and shows like that. They'll stage a lot of things. They'll bring an animal on site and like set it up to be captured, and we don't really do any of that on Jacksonville Wildlife. So I'm really depending on myself being able to not only find the animals, but be able to talk about them for 15-20 minutes, because I can do my best to prepare, but sometimes we run into stuff that I wasn't expecting to find. Things like the pangolin, that was totally out of pocket. We didn't expect to find that. Or things like the red-bellied black snake. We hadn't found a single snake up until that one. And that was the first snake we found. So you have to just be like, oh, okay, let me think of all the things I can remember about this animal right on the spot, right when we have the animal, so that we can handle it in a, as little of a stressful way as possible, and then let it be back on its way as fast as we can. Because I really don't like having to just overhandle and overstress the animals. Question: how was your holidays? They were great. They were good. Me and my family celebrated Christmas a few weeks ago, and then New Year's just 2 days ago. And yeah, we had a great time. Hope everybody else had a good and safe holidays. I got a lot of cool stuff. I bought myself a camera for Christmas. It's my first DSLR camera, so I'm excited to start playing with it. I wasn't ever one of those guys that just had a camera with me or got camera stuff, so I'm kind of new to this whole thing. Videography is more of my forte, but I'm hoping we can get more into photography and filming as well on the DSLR. It's time for Pellisti's Carnifex and Vespa Mandarini to show up. I hope this year. I have no issue with trying to get that done this year. I'm thinking for those 2 trips, though, they'll be shorter. A lot of my previous Jacksonville Wildlife trips have been like a few weeks, chunks at a time. But I think for those particular 2, I might just, take a few days to fly out somewhere and try and get those 2 sting videos. A lot of the world is still shut down. It's not incredibly safe to travel quite yet, but once this vaccine starts rolling, we'll see how viable it is to start looking at that type of prospects in the future. Have I ever thought about doing videos on praying mantises? Absolutely. I love praying mantises. In fact, we were set actually to film a video on Queridotus, the leaf mantis, in Costa Rica. But it was my last day in Costa Rica. We were really tired. I just filmed the bullet ant video, and we just didn't end up getting to it. We were busy trying to find other animals to film, and we just kind of ran out of time. But I love praying mantises. We actually we've got some featured in our light trap, our Texas light trap adventure. We found a male unicorn mantis. So if you're looking for mantids, there's one right there. Do you have an animal that you would not like to encounter in the wild? Encounter is a broad word. I would say there's really no animal that I wouldn't want to encounter in the wild. However, how I encounter them, there's much to be said about that. I am quite wary of running into any of the large cats, tigers, jaguars, lions, because they're dangerous animals, and you can't outrun them, you can't outclimb them. Same thing for elephants, rhinos, hippos, large animals like venomous snakes. I've got no problem with. You could throw me in a room with any species really of venomous snake, and I can hold my own, and I'd be fine. And you could throw me in a room with multiple venomous snakes, and I would take that over, being on my own 2 feet out in the middle of the African bush and getting charged, by an elephant or rhinoceros. There's some dangerous animals out there that are very hard to work around once they are angry. So I would say, if I had to say what kind of animal that I wouldn't like to encounter, I would say a very angry, dangerous animal that is too close to me. Other than that, sharks, love them. Couldn't get enough of sharks. Venomous snakes, big cats even as well. It's just how you are encountering them. If I'm just like walking through the forest and all of a sudden there's a tiger, laying down right in front of me, and it turns around, yeah, I'm gonna feel like, man, that's an animal I wish I didn't encounter. How about my worst animal wound? My worst animal wound would probably be, I don't know if I'd call it a wound, but the black widow bite was very just intensive. The pain stayed around for a long time. Maybe actual wound, the leech actually really cut into me super deep, and I've actually still got a scar somewhere on my arm from that leech bite. The leech video that we filmed with Hirudo Verbana, the Hungarian emerald leech, that sucker cut into my arm, and it was a deep cut, and there was bruising under the skin for a long time. So that's probably, like, that I could classify more as a wound. But other than that, I really don't get too close and get attacked by animals all that often. It's usually self-inflicted for the sting videos. I'm usually pretty good about avoiding animals when they're angry and being able to kind of anticipate what they're going to do. What do you think you would be doing professionally if I wasn't working with wildlife? Um, oh, I'm a teacher by nature. That was always my plan, was to get a PhD and teach on the collegiate level. However, when I was really thinking about it and looking at just the time commitment of that at this point in my life, I was just like, I don't know if I can justify going to school for, say 6, 7, 8 years and get all those qualifications and become a teacher when there's ecosystems and species going extinct, every day. And I felt like I was of more use ecologically now at this point in my life to do this type of work. And so I kind of put my educational academic aspirations on hold. So if I wasn't working with wildlife, I would be working towards getting my PhD and teaching. Great question. Let's see. What is my least favorite animal or bug? I don't know. My least favorite animal or bug. I'm not a huge fan of domesticated dogs. I like wolves. I like wild caniformia. I would say like those are the animals that I would like. If somebody's like, "Oh, you want to come see my dog?" I'd be like, "I don't. No, I guess not." They're like, "You want to see my monkey?" I'd be like, "Cool, yeah." "You want to see my python?" "Sure." "You want to see my collection of jewel scarabs?" "All right." But like, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of overrated and not super interesting to me behavior wise and whatnot. Uh, so don't come for me. I'm Jack's World of Wildlife, not Jack's World of, dog sitting or whatever. What camera? It's the Canon T7i in America, the Canon EOS 500D, I think everywhere else. Great camera. I'm really excited to start playing with it and working with it. Going on a hike today and going to film the animals or insects. Cool beans. Just bought a shirt. Awesome. Yep. Our shirts are these premium tees are super soft. I'm wearing the large right now. I'm not a big guy, but it fits me well, and they're long too, which I like because I don't like it when I get shirts and I'm like I go to grab something and then I've got a crop top on. You know what I mean? And the hoodies are perfect for this time of year. Nice, dense, warm hoodies as well. Going back to the previous question, wouldn't mind encountering a bunch of ticks crawling about on you? Okay, I would prefer not to run into many blood-sucking parasites. I like to be bitten on my own ground, on my own account. So I like to make sure I know what's biting me and when it's biting me. So being swarmed with ticks, I'm not a fan of. Okay, so that's at least one species I wouldn't want to run into, or yeah, most parasites I wouldn't want to run into. Let's see. Hello, hi. I'm with you. I'm not a dog person at all. I mean, people go crazy when you say that, but I'm like, especially in America, for some reason, not only are people super obsessed with their dogs, but there seems to be like a social disconnect with having your animal being like trained and well behaved. Like I'll go over to somebody's house and the dog's just jumping on me and biting me and tearing my shirt, and I'm like, "No, he's just saying hi. He's just saying hi to you. It's fine, it's whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, like, can we not can I not be assaulted by your dog? Like my animals are put away in their enclosures and stuff when people come over. I wouldn't expect anybody to be okay with any animal, coming out and jumping all over them. So I like that's the other thing. And I'd like to say animals too that have a purpose, like, if you're using, if it's a tracking dog, a hunting dog, a shepherding dog, go for it. That's great. What bothers me a lot with dogs as well is that people just kind of get them because they like a certain breed or they like a certain look, and they don't really put the time, effort, and energy into properly maintaining the animal. So just kind of everything around dogs, the people not taking great care of them, people feeding them just gross processed stuff, owners just not really. I mean, people buy a dog and then they'll go to work, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, leaving in an apartment with a puppy pad. And I'm like, and people are complaining about zoos and stuff like that. Like, that's a lot worse to just be, trapped. Cats, I do like cats. Indoor cats I love. Outdoor cats I hate. Feral cats kill millions of native animals per year. If you have a feral cat, don't. I hope it gets eaten by a hawk or coyote. Sorry to say it. That's better for the environment. Don't come for me there. That's just how it is. Feral cats are super, super dangerous. But like I said, I have a cat. I love cats. I think I love their personalities a little bit more. They're not just expecting me to always want to be on top of them and petting them and giving them attention. It's like, oh, it'd be nice if we just like sat together and watched TV for a bit, and then I'm gonna go, lay down in the windowsill and get some sun for a bit. And I'm like, okay, I can respect that. Have a good time. So I'm a little biased. I do like cats. Wild canines I love. I find them super fascinating and interesting. It's just the whole like dog thing. I want a pet, for me, and for me, it's a big thing for the animals to be properly maintained and cared for. And I just feel like the whole dog culture, and it could just be mostly in America because that's what I see, is just kind of chaotic and disorganized and doesn't really prioritize the animals. It's a pleasure thing for people to have a dog. Oh, he needs to have a dog when he's growing up. It's not, oh, well, let's, make sure we give a dog a happy and healthy life and spend the money and time and care and facilitating that. What would happen if a Japanese giant hornet were to go against executioner wasp? Japanese giant hornet would chop it up and eat it. Polistes carnifex is a third the size of Vespa mandarinia, and Vespa mandarinia specifically hunts hymenopterans, bees in particular. So executioner wasp would have no chance against Vespa mandarinia. I don't even think its stinger could even land a single blow on Vespa mandarinia. Vespa mandarinia, the giant Asian hornet, is one of the most versatile and effective hunters in all of Hymenoptera. They're scary and they get the job done. More of a cat person myself. Again, like I said, I'm a little biased, but dogs just don't really do it for me. Would you do any videos with basilisks in the wild? I haven't seen any of that, and they're my favorite. Sure. I think, the Wildlife Brothers, they have a video about basilisks. Go and check it out. I don't, because I just haven't been in the right place in Costa Rica during Jacksonville Wildlife. My actually first time I went to Costa Rica, there were basilisks everywhere. But I did not have my channel yet. That was back in 2015. And so I didn't catch any. I didn't film with any. I was just like, oh, that's cool. Awesome. No, you guys are good. Like I said, we're never in competition. Wildlife Brothers say, please don't feel like you have to visit the video. Not trying to take attention away from Jack. Just wanted to extend the invitation. We're not in competition. None of the people. That's not. I don't want you guys to feel that way. I want us to all just be working together as a community to bring what we bring to the table to the masses in conservation. I'm never going to be upset if you have an educational. I support your channel. I think you guys do a great job. So any sort of similar content or videos that people are looking for, by all means, let people know that you have that stuff. Because like I said, not in competition. We're all working towards the same goal. The more the merrier. And that's fine with me. The synergy is what I want to foster. I don't want people thinking, that I'm the only person who can make that certain type of video, or I'm not going to help anybody else build their own channel. Yes. Okay, so this person said, I strongly dislike it when an owner says their dog is friendly and I look at the dog and it's barking its head off at me. It could be a friendly dog. Dogs bark for a whole plethora of reasons. In fact, we bred them to bark. So the dog could just be worried or anxious or stressed or trying to intimidate you. It could be a perfectly friendly dog. But like I said, a poorly trained dog can be volatile. Some people who haven't specifically trained their dogs with things like resource guarding or things of that nature, where the dog becomes defensive or aggressive about certain things, they can just seemingly turn on a dime and bite somebody or another animal, etc. Yeah, cats, I mean, millions of animals per year, but billions cats have cats are probably the second most destructive species of organism on the planet, second to us, and they're introduced by us. So we kind of have secondhand destruction on that end. Cats are no good outside, and it's dangerous for them to be out there. Coyotes eat them all the time. A lot of the larger birds of prey can eat them. They get hit by cars. They could be hurt by kids. So it's just like, there's no point. Just keep your cat inside. It's not a wild animal. It's not a native animal here. It's a domesticated animal that can live a very happy and healthy life indoors. If you want to, if oh well, he wants to go outside, build a little catio or something so you can sit out in the sun. I'm all for giving your pet the best life it can have, but it's putting your animal at risk and danger to just let it do whatever it wants. You wouldn't let a 4-year-old go play on the highway just because he wants to play on the highway, right? That's stupid reasoning. And I get heated about this issue because people are, oh, it's circle of life, it's natural, it's a natural predator. It's not a natural predator, and they've disrupted almost every single ecosystem where humans are alive, save maybe Antarctica, has been affected by feral cat populations, and they can like kill and eat animals that are like up to their size and sometimes even larger. So they're a huge problem, especially in areas where we're trying to conserve bird populations and small mammal populations and things like that. We're already losing wildlife so quickly. On top of that, cats can be vectors of disease, toxoplasmosis. They can carry and spread to marine life and pregnant women and all sorts of stuff. It's not good for them to just be doing whatever they want. So keep them inside. Anyway, let's see what else. Thoughts on people like Randall or Jeff Corwin? Can we expect a collab with them? I don't know. I love Jeff Corwin. I watched all his stuff growing up. He's one of my biggest influences. I've heard differing stories with people running into him. Some people are like, "Oh yeah, he was super nice." Some people are like, "Nah, guy was a jerk. He went to his hotel room after they filmed and didn't talk to any of the crew until he was back on camera." Da, 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 da. So I don't know. I'd say it's highly unlikely for me to be able to get in and do a collaboration with him, mostly because I think he's signed on with a television contract at the moment. And I don't know him. I mean, I could shoot him a message, but I don't know if he'll be incredibly interested. It would be cool to meet him as long as he's nice. They say don't meet your heroes because it'll skew this image of what I have in my brain. So I'm always wary to like run into people, with the exception of David Attenborough, who I know is going to be the sweetest, most amazing man ever. Should I meet him in person, because that's just who he is. There's no question. So David Attenborough, if you're watching this, shoot me an email. My people will get with your people. We'll do a collab and we'll save the planet together. Oh, I wish. Is there a particular group of animals that you don't know much about and would like to learn more about? Always. Let me try and think of a specific group. A particular group of animals I don't know much about, but I'd like to learn more about. I think I've kind of dropped the ball on a few things, Fish, I really, really love, and I do know quite a lot about fish, but just marine life in general it took kind of a back seat for a bit, and I'm playing catch up now. I worked at an aquarium store for a few years, and that really helped round out and solidify a lot of my knowledge on coral and reef fish and things like that. But I'd love to learn more about marine life and marine ecosystems. Other than that, I don't know about specifically animals I'd like to learn more about, but animals I'd like to work with, if that makes sense. There's only so much that I can get out of just watching a documentary or reading a book, and it gets to the point where I've gotten everything, book wise I can get about an organism, and I just want to just dig in and work with these animals and really watch them, tick. And I think that that's probably what I would classify as learning more of. So animals like that. I mean, Odontocetes, the toothed whales, hyenas. Um, some of the larger mustelids, wolverines, to be sure, that type of stuff. I'm really interested in digging in and learning more about what all goes into their lives. Um, love the community aspect, and I agree wholeheartedly. Yes, sir. Yeah, you guys feel free. If you've got a video or something like that, just let us know. I mean, I'll go and check it out. You know what I mean? Spotted eagle owl or Eurasian eagle owl? Eurasian eagle owl. That's the largest, right? Those are cool. I've actually seen some of those before. Um, that's how dogs talk. Yeah, barking some. They do have some silent communication, which is nice. Um, so you're hinting at a collab with David Attenborough is what I'm hearing. I wish. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. I'm just hoping I can meet him in my lifetime. I'd love to do a collab with him. Um, so going back to a previous question, I've heard some good things about Jeff Corwin, but don't know him personally. Although I am fortunate enough to know Jack Randall through YouTube and email and such. Yeah, I like I said, I don't know Jeff Corwin personally. I've heard things kind of down the chain. So I knew somebody who knew some of the people that he like traveled with for a season or so, and they said basically, he just did not, he wasn't involved with any of the process, or like he would have people working for hours, collecting animals and stuff like that, and then just wouldn't even acknowledge their work and stuff like that. And so I don't know. Like I said, I like him. Jeff Corwin, if you're seeing this, prove me wrong and come and collab with me. But yeah, I've just heard conflicting stuff. So I just am wary about meeting him because I don't want that image of him in my head to be tarnished. If it's solidified, great. If it's tarnished, okay. Have I had any surprising animal encounters in my house or places I didn't expect to find them? That's a good question. In my house, well, there's a few things. I mean, it's animals I brought into my house that maybe escaped or did something like that. I had a 4 foot long water monitor I bought to be an educational animal, and it escaped and was loose in my room for like a week, and it was super aggressive. The lady told me, it had been hand raised and was super tame. She had pictures of it on her shoulders and stuff. I'm like, oh, this will be a good educational animal. At the time, I was doing educational shows, and so she brings it. I pick it up, and it's all taped up, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. Why wouldn't she just take it out and show me? And I get it home. It's huffing, it's puffing, it's tail whipping. Anyway, it was loose in my room, and I had to catch it. And what it would do is it would come out from behind my dresser, is where it was hiding, and it would take a huge dump right in front of my door. So anytime I'd open my door, I could only open it, so far and try and squeeze into my room, because if I opened it all the way, it would hit the poop and smear it all the way across the carpet. So I did not enjoy encountering a 4 foot water monitor loose in my room. Jack Randall's a nice guy. I really enjoyed my conversations with him. Well, we'll have to all collab, right? Yeah, I've never met him, so I'd be interested in talking to him. Let's see. It bothers me how people can say that it doesn't matter what happens to invasive animals and they can harass and abuse them and stuff instead of humanely killing them or finding homes. Like people have no respect just because they're invasive. But with dogs and cats, people don't care if they affect the habitat as much. Yeah, I think it's a social dilemma, right? So you're talking about like people will just, you know, shoot iguanas, through the chest and leave them, dying on the side of the road instead of just, euthanizing them quickly and efficiently. But then you turn around and say, well, we actually need to remove and or euthanize the feral cat population, and then people get all up in arms. It's because we connect as humans, not me, as humans, we connect with, I would call them sympathetic species that we've kind of evolved alongside or domesticated. There are man's best friend, dogs, or cats. It's a sweet, cute cat. No problem. I love cats, but feral cats, you're actively slaughtering through cats. Billions of animals without removing cats from the ecosystems where they've become invasive. You're killing animals, intelligent animals. I mean, in coastal communities, cetaceans can be affected by toxoplasmosis. You know, and that can kill dolphins and whales and manatees and sea lions and all sorts of stuff because we just let cats do whatever they want. So it's like, can you guys please stop? But I agree. There's a huge discrepancy between how people treat other invasive species that really aren't that bad in comparison to cats. They affect the ecosystem absolutely for sure. But then people will just go out and just think, oh, well, it's free reign. I can just kill whatever I want. And I'm all for removing invasive species by the most efficient means. If we can find homes for stuff, that's great. A lot of this stuff, it's just not viable of an option. You can only find homes for so many, 22-foot long, aggressive, wild Burmese pythons, right? And you can't reintroduce them to Asia because they could be carrying all sorts of disease that they picked up over here and wipe out the original native population. You know what I mean? So it's like, on some level, you can find homes, but some of these animals are feral. They're born in the wild. They live in the wild. They're not sweet, and they need to be addressed in any way possible. Oh yeah, no problem. It's no problem at all. I really am going to answer any question you guys throw at me. I don't really care how weighty it might be. I'm going to answer it the best of my capability and what's closest to the philosophy of Jack's World of Wildlife. And sadly, we have to address our own damage that we've done to the environment. And some of that is our cute, fluffy pets have become murderous, bloodthirsty monsters, and we have to remove them. And that's sad. It's not the animal's fault. There's humane ways of doing that, but we're allowing them to kill millions and millions of animals every year from doing nothing. And that's just not sustainable. It's not going to work, and it's not natural. So, not to hurt anybody's feelings, that's just the truth of it. No, it's a great question. I don't necessarily consider it to be negative. I think it's a valid argument of why do we treat dogs and cats differently than other vertebrate animals, even other invasive mammals. People just get upset with it when we talk about removing animals that we resonate with. Animals are on this huge spectrum of intelligence, and dogs and cats are down here, and then we're going to turn around and eat pigs and stuff like that, which are arguably more intelligent than both of those groups of animals, and nobody cares. It's too much double standards in the animal world. Once you realize just how similar everything is and how it's interconnected, it becomes kind of a hypocritical argument to prioritize vertebrate animals over other vertebrate animals, especially when they share comparable intelligence. So it's kind of just like, it's just people get emotionally tied to certain things, and it's unfortunate because it is affecting the environment quite a lot. Okay, so moving on. What's the difference between a yellow jacket and the bald-faced hornet? They're both hornets, but they're in a different genus. They're not super closely related to each other. I think the closest that they're in is subfamily. I don't know. Let me check. Bald-faced hornet. Bald-faced hornet. La, 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 la. Yeah, so the species is yellow jacket wasp, not a true hornet. Dolichovespula, family Vespidae. The yellow jacket is in the genus Vespula. And they're two separate animals. They're related. They're in the same should be in the same family and the same subfamily, even, I believe. Technically, yellow jackets are a species of wasp, and not technically a hornet, but the bald-faced hornet is technically in that group. They're two very different species. They look different. They have different venom compositions. They're different. Have I ever considered filming a Halloween special video like what Jack Randall sort of did when he filmed a video on his animals he found in an abandoned house in the rainforest? Good spooky video. I'd love to. Sadly, I was stuck here. I'd love to film more kind of holiday themed videos as well. I try not to have too much of the holiday stuff, just because I'd like to make this platform, palatable for anyone anywhere, and I don't want to particularly align with a certain set of holidays, because not everybody celebrates those holidays. Not every religion celebrates those holidays around the world. Not everybody celebrates the same holidays on the same day. But certainly people like Halloween, so I might do some stuff like that. Yeah, I'm always open. If you guys have any ideas like that, of stuff you'd like to see, I'm always open to do that type of thing. I just want to make sure Jacksonville Wildlife is a global something that can be consumed on the global level. I don't ever want to make anybody feel isolated or outside of this group that I'm trying to foster, because the group is the entire planet. We all live on this planet. But great question. I had a lot of fun doing my Christmas special a few years ago, but it's a lot of work. So it takes a lot of planning, and we did some scripting and some song rewrites, and it was just a lot of work. So if you guys really want to see that, I'm going to have to really brainstorm and think of ways to kind of one up that Christmas special. If I had the chance to spend a full year living and filming in one country, where would I go? Oh, great question. I think Australia. I am just in love with the wildlife there. I love the diversity of endemic species, like stuff you don't get to see anywhere else. Like I can go to Asia and see primates and see rodents and see, ungulates and see, all these different types of vipers that I can see in, Central and South America, right? Not the same. Old world monkeys, new world monkeys, rhinos, tapirs, a Malaysian pit viper, ferdinands. But then you hop on over to Australia, and it's just so different. Almost everything native is a marsupial, with the exception of some bats and some rodents. Giant birds, egg-laying mammals, a whole array of highly venomous, elapids, venomous snakes. I just love everything about it, and the thing I really like about it too is it feels kind of like home. in that it's super similar to Texas, in my opinion. When I went, it was like I was in an alternate dimension of Texas, and I just really enjoyed that. I was just always just my mind was blown anywhere I went. And I just love the animals out there. So I would say if I had the chance to spend a full year living and filming in one country, I would go to Australia. Probably New South Wales because that's where I went last time. But I'd love to hit up every single state, territory. I don't know what I would call it. I know there's Northern Territory, Western Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Northern Territory. Did I already say that? Are they territories? I don't know. States? I just love Australia. Love Australia. Would love to spend so much time there. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's difficult to lose a snake, and it's difficult when that's a decision that you're having to do. I've had to help with a few euthanizations of some sick animals, over the years, and it doesn't really get easier. At the end of the day, you just have to realize, sometimes it's just better for the animal. I've had, a few sick frogs in the past year, and it's just been really difficult even treating them with antibiotics and ointments, and just seeing them get weaker and weaker and just be in pain, So it gets difficult over time to kind of deal with that type of stuff. But I'm here right with you. For all the kids that are watching, what's the difference between a blackback gorilla and a silverback gorilla? Not sure what you mean by this. I believe there's only 2 species of gorilla, and I think there's a few subspecies between the 2 of them. Silverback is a term that refers to the mature male form of, I think both species can have a silverback. It's the alpha male, and they get the name from, at least in the adult mature males of, I think, both species, they get that silvery patch on the back. I'm not sure that every species gets that patch, but that's a term for the alpha. It's like saying the alpha gorilla. Silverback is the alpha male. So it's not necessarily a species thing as much as it is like a status thing in their kind of social groups. So if they don't have that silverback yet, they're not, fully sexually mature, or maybe as a female, but they're not like 2 separate types. You can have, darker gorillas in a troop with a silverback that's leading them, if that makes sense. Now, not all gorilla species will get that dramatic, deep, white, gray silverback, but that's a social term, because it's like the mountain gorillas, and then what? Let me just make sure how gorilla species, because I think there's gorilla, there's gorilla, the eastern and western gorillas. 4 types of gorillas: western lowland gorillas, gorilla, cross river gorillas, which is a tiny subspecies of the western lowlands, gorilla, Dieli, Growers gorilla, or eastern lowland, gorilla Berenge groweri, and mountain gorillas, gorilla Berenge. I believe both western lowlands and mountain gorillas, and for sure the eastern lowland gorillas, I think as well, all have silverbacks present. That was a good question. How many days do you spend in the field looking for animals to film? It totally depends on where I'm at. A lot of my Texas trips are usually about 5 to 7 days. My Florida trip was about 7 days, but places like Thailand, we spent 4 weeks in Thailand, and then 5 days in Borneo. That was like a 5-week trip to Southeast Asia. Australia was a 12-day trip. Costa Rica, I was working in Costa Rica at the time, so I was there for about 9-10 weeks, something like that. So it depends. As much time as I think I need to get all the videos that I'm hoping to get. Obviously, the more time, the more videos, but it's hard to stay away for long amounts of time, especially when I've got, other projects and other things I'm working on. I own my own business now, so it's difficult to try and prioritize being gone for more than a week or so at a time, because then I've got to really play catch up or get people to come over and help me with my stuff while I am gone. What's a country you've never been but would really like to go? I'd love to get out to Sumatra. I'd love to get out to Indonesia. I would love to get out to Uganda. I think there's a lot of places that I want to go. A lot of places that I want to go. Beautiful places with beautiful animals. I want to go everywhere. What is the significance of the tattoo on your chest? Oh, great question. So this tattoo that I got in Thailand by a monk. This is a traditional form of tattoo art. It's called sakyant, and traditionally you are it's like a stick and poke, like where they hit it with a needle. Luckily, this particular monk I went to, he had this old tattoo gun with a needle that, I kid you not, was like 3/4 of an inch long, and so basically it's a very respectful ceremony. You This particular tattoo is a protection tattoo. When you see these um, when there's all these arrows kind of coming out in a circle, that's kind of like warding off, bad ill intent, bad spirits and things like that. And then in the middle of these arrows here, this is an umalone, which is it symbolizes, the path to enlightenment. It's real squiggly, and then it kind of straightens out as it goes towards. So this is a protection tattoo. Specifically, this one is what ancient soldiers used to get, so that they wouldn't be killed in battle. So it's essentially an immortality tattoo. And I can see right here, Gage Howard, my cameraman, says the tattoo really works. I got this tattoo a day before I was charged by an elephant. And Gage was kind of looking behind off of David's bike. He was on the back of the bike while we were filming, and we didn't catch this on camera because we didn't expect it to happen. And I'm zooming past the elephant, and it just barely misses me. And Gage told me once I pull up there, well, first I pull up and I yell, "I'm immortal!" Because, of course, my tattoo obviously protected me. But it's crazy because I got charged by an elephant, and then the next day I crashed my bike on the highway, and this massive bus stopped like just in time. So I almost got charged by an elephant. I almost got hit by a bus. And not a scratch. So who knows? So far, since I've gotten this tattoo, I haven't died. So I guess we'll see. But I really love the traditional artwork. I think when I go back to Thailand at some point, I'd love to get another tattoo. It's really cool to get cool, meaningful tattoos where I go. Have I ever gotten sick while traveling, either from food and not felt like filming? Kind of. I mean, sometimes you get a stomach bug, new water, new food. I had like severe diarrhea in Borneo. The food was just like, I don't know, something was wrong with it, or the water, or something. It just was not agreeing with me, was not agreeing with some of my team. And so that was no bueno. But as far as like getting like super, super sick, I haven't ever really gotten like sick enough to where I couldn't film or couldn't do anything. So I haven't, that's been nice. Usually when I'm on my trip, I'm in good health, I'm eating good food, I'm in, good company, and, we just kind of truck along and move along like that. And I haven't gotten too sick, but I don't want to jinx it. So knock on wood. Wasn't that the tattoo that kept you safe from the angry elephant? I guess so. Favorite country to live in? Well, seeing as I've only really lived in America, and then I guess I lived for one summer in Costa Rica. Um, I America's okay. I think I think places I'd like to live would be places like I think I'd really like to look at into the prospect of moving to Australia, or I really did enjoy my time in Costa Rica. Um, it's just beautiful. The wildlife is so amazing. The food is good. But yeah, I would say probably one of those two places, Costa Rica or Australia, would be a good country to live in. America is good. I'm here now, but if I had to choose, I'd probably choose something a little different for myself. Do I like to go birding? I love to go birding. That's probably another thing that I'd like to learn more about. I didn't really get heavily into birds until I was in Costa Rica, and I was really big into putting together uh, my. Oh, let me grab it actually. Um, I bought this birding book, and I got really into uh, marking which species I had seen. So I have all these little like dots. Oh, all these dots by the species based off of what I've seen in Texas and what I've seen in Costa Rica. And I just really got into birding pretty heavily. I really love the motmots. Here's my illegal motmoth feather. Beautiful, beautiful birds. Absolutely love them. I love the tropical soft-billed birds. If I ever open a facility, I want some motmots and I want to breed them. They're so beautiful. I love to bird, but like I said, I'm kind of a novice at it. I'm not super great at it. We've got a ton of raptors and stuff around where I live, so I'm always pointing them out and driving by red-tailed hawks and American kestrels and things like that. I've always loved just seeing birds. I just don't know a ton about it. Yeah, so a blackback gorilla is basically a subadult gorilla or an adolescent gorilla. Right. So, like I said, an adult silverback is a mature male gorilla. Oh, thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate any sort of financial support because Lord knows I need it. Trying to get all this stuff off the ground. For some reason, the algorithms are just tanking us the past 2 months. So I'm trying to get it turned around, but without being able to travel and get a ton of new content, it's pretty difficult. Found your channel after 1 year of forgetting what it was called. Do you remember me? I saw you like 2.5 years ago on a CIEE trip when we visited you in Monteverde, and I did a presentation on butterflies. Yes, I do. You're the one who was following me on Instagram for like a few years, right? Yeah, I do. Yeah, when I was a tour guide in Monteverde. Yeah, because my buddy Matthew the whole time was like, "Oh, people keep recognizing me from Instagram. I have a famous Instagram. Oh, everybody recognizes me." And I was like, "Whatever." And then you came in, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I remember you. I remember your snake named Spock." And I'm like, "Whoa, that's from like my first venomous snake I ever had. That's crazy." Yeah, I remember you. You were my biggest fan from day one. That was when we were filming the first few episodes of Jacksonville Wildlife. I marked my field guides also for species and subspecies, specifically for herps. Herps are great. I love looking for herps. What are your thoughts on trophy hunting as a means of conservation efforts? Um, that is a great question. And I'm going to try and answer it as delicately as possible. So with trophy hunting, it's very easy to become emotional or emotionally charged about that particular aspect, because as animal lovers, we don't want to see anything get hurt or die or be killed, especially, not by some, cheap, you know, dentist, half a mile away with some giant caliber gun, right? However, the sad thing is that trophy hunting is really and truly the largest contributor to a lot of large animal conservation in Africa and other places, and that's because sadly we live in a world where money is king, and that's how people make money off of those animals. Now you could say, well, that's just not fair. Why would we, seemingly sacrifice animals, on the altar of conservation? But it's kind of almost really the only way, because if people aren't making money off of the animals, they're no longer assets to be protected. The trophy hunting is this grisly business that saves 10 times as many, 100 times as many animals as it removes. And another thing to think about is a lot of these places are monitoring carefully what animals are actually available to hunt. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you'll have an old male bull. Perhaps he's become aggressive and he's been killing females, and he's been tearing up different things, and the genetic quality of his reproductive group is kind of dwindling because it's just been him running around for the last 15 years. And so if somebody wants to come in and pay $1 million to sadly kill the animal, then you can take that, pour it into the conservation, and then the genetics are rejuvenated, the armed guards are paid, and you can get that funding in. So it's kind of a bittersweet style thing. I would never trophy hunt personally, but you can't argue with just how much money and influence it has had in conservation, and that's just the sad bit of it. And sometimes we have to pull ourselves out of that emotional feeling, because that's what we criticize when people are saying, oh, my cat wants to be outside, and then if the cat gets hurt, they're sad about it. No, we need to make sure that we're thinking with our minds about conservation, because it's very easy to get downtrodden and emotional and upset about these issues because we care about it. But when you look at it in the long run, if we had to remove 5 animals to save 20,000, then what should our answer be? Or instead we could say, well, we're not going to have any hunting on this game reserve, so no funds come in, and then the animals are picked off by poachers anyway, right? They're going to be killed anyway, but now we can protect them. And yes, some of them will be killed, but hopefully and usually most of them will be protected heavily with armed guards, and that's simply because they become assets. And that's the sad way of looking at it, but humankind is a species that's focusing on money and wealth, and if something's not making them money, it's very hard to get compassion to spend the money out of the big guy's pockets. So but that's a great question. That's a very charged question. All you guys on the live streams are lucky, because I usually won't cover this type of stuff in my normal videos, just because this is a sensitive topic and some people get very upset about it, and rightly so. I'm not a fan of having beautiful, endangered even animals being killed, but sadly that brings in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, towards their conservation. And so it's the needs of the many, outweigh the needs of the few, especially if they're no longer reproductively viable to their species, if they're killing other species of endangered animal, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of other factors that go into that whole trophy hunting thing. But amazing question. And like I said, guys, I'm always going to answer the questions that you give me. I'm never gonna really try and pass on anything. So overall, it's great, but can easily be exploited. Absolutely, sure. Snowy owl or spectacled owl. I gotta say snowy owl. I love spectacled owls. Really nice species of owl that I've actually seen in the wild. Snowy owls are just so elegant and pretty. Okay. Christian Meyer says, I found you with your Black Widow bite video. The title doesn't explicitly say that you let a Black Widow bite you. I thought you were just going to talk about the process. That's interesting. I feel like it doesn't say Black Widow bite. I think it does. Videos. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it says, my first one says Black Widow bite, try to survive. And the extended cut is Black Widow bite, the extended cut. And it's on my arm. I hope people know that I'm being bitten by the Black Widow. Maybe that's why my video is not going viral. People just think I'm going to be talking about it. Well, thanks for letting me know. Am I likely to come to Australia again? Have you ever found any funnel web spiders? I found a few funnel webs, not the Sydney funnel web, but a few other mouse spiders and stuff. I'd love to get back to Australia. Love, love, love to. I'm hoping I can get there as soon as possible, but flights are expensive. I'm on the opposite side of the planet. So it's difficult to try and make all that happen, but I definitely plan on coming back. If I make it clear in my title that I let one bite me, I'll go viral. Should I say Black Widow bites me? I can change that pretty easily. That wouldn't be too hard. How did I get my connections with these different wildlife content creators like David's feed, for example? Well, surprisingly, the animal hobby is kind of small, and most people either know each other or know of each other or know people who know everybody else. So actually, it's kind of funny. David and I were just Facebook friends, and he started just commenting on my stuff. Hey, looks good, man, looks great. And then we just planned a trip together, and he said, hey, can I FaceTime y'all to make sure that I'm not gonna get stuck on a trip with some weirdos or something, because that's happened to me before. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And we just FaceTimed, we got along, and then we just met up and became closer friends while on a trip. So a lot of my stuff is kind of like that, where I will kind of have an acquaintanceship, and then we'll do a trip together, and it'll really kind of, solidify that bond. And then, we're pretty close friends after that. So Facebook, honestly, a lot of these content creators are on Facebook, and most of their viewers don't really use it. So it's not like, on Instagram, if they got, 200,000, likes on every single photo, and you can't, get through the 5,000 comments to, actually start meeting people. Facebook is where I do a lot of my networking. So it's kind of an old people thing, but I use Facebook all the time. So I know David through Facebook, and then we became friends. And if ever we're close around each other, we meet up and do stuff. Most people don't understand what conservation is and what it entails. It's not always a pretty job. That's right. Sometimes it takes sacrifice, and it's difficult. But that's where we have to make sure that we're using our head, we're using logic, we're using, tried and true fact, and what's going to really work and what's going to help our species, and that's what we've got to do. Because this is something we need to make sure that we get done. Hypothetically, how many live streams will we see before a live frog room tour or a wife reveal? A live frog room tour, I don't know. Would you guys be interested in a live frog room tour? Because I feel like it would be kind of hard to see over a live. I was gonna do like a normal, like, whole video and have detail and B-roll and be able to see the frogs. Most of my frogs are like hiding during the day. They're not all out all the time. It'd be very rare for me to be able to go in there and get them all on camera at once. I'm open to it, but I don't know how crazy it would be. I think I posted my wife on my Instagram. Maybe we'll have my Jack's World of Wild wife come on at some point. um So would you say I'm a person who knows everyone? Not quite. There's a lot of people I don't know, but I'm decently well networked in this type of stuff, and I'm hoping down the road I can get more well networked. It's just because I'm pretty friendly and fun to hang out with, I guess. So people like me. Um, let's see here. Watched painted turtles, see Picta, almost vanish from the Pacific Northwest, Washington State because of bullfrogs, human impact, etc. So sad thoughts. Uh, Sadly, this is something that we see all the time. Invasive species, habitat destruction, urban development, encroachment. It can fragment these populations. It can ruin these ecosystems and destroy entire populations, if not entire species. It's very sad. Luckily, with some of those species of amphibians and reptiles, they're very easy to breed, and we can hopefully reintroduce large numbers to get them back on track. But we need to prioritize conserving our natural land and our natural resources because that's what we need to do. We're over time. I'm going to answer the last few questions, and then I guess we're going to cut it. And again, we'll do this again on next Sunday, 5 p.m. I'm thinking every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will be here. So just make sure you've got that on your calendars, and this is probably going to be our last full Q&A. And then in the future, I'm going to have specific topics that we're going to talk about, maybe some more conversational style stuff. It should be good. All right, so let's see. I would love to see a whole video with B-roll, but a live stream talking about your history breeding frogs would be cool. Okay, so 2 separate videos. I can do that, no problem. As a conservation officer myself, what advice/criticism would you give on specifically the turtles or just in general? I'm going to answer this question below while you type that response. Does marine biology interest you? Absolutely. I love marine biology. Like I said, I worked at a fish store. I love learning more about whales, cetaceans, and I absolutely love it. Reef systems, the whole shebang. I love it in general. Okay, so as a conservation officer myself, what advice/criticism would you give? I would just say, I think it's important to light a fire under our local communities. And what I mean by that is, I think a lot of the time, as conservationists, as people in this type of field, we get kind of hung in our own reality, and we use the words that we use with each other, and we understand what we're talking about, and I feel like we really need to focus on not only being active and trying to get your regular Joe off the street and learning and participating in conservation, but to be compassionate to the masses, which is hard because typically, if you're interested in conservation, hopefully you're a more intelligent person, and it gets difficult to listen to people just spew stupidity out of their mouths on a day-to-day basis. And that's one thing that I have to really focus on myself, is making sure that I am palatable, and people, the layman, can understand what I'm trying to do here. I would say just focus on every tiny win you can make, be encouraged by that, because it gets discouraging. And looking at conservation as a whole, it gets discouraging. Do your best. Have everybody do their best, and any little positive difference you can make, that's a win. Just keep at it and keep it going. As far as criticism, I don't know. I'd say I'd have to see all your operations before I could maybe say anything to that. As far as I know, I think you're doing pretty good. I mean, asking for criticism is already a good sign. And like I said, I mean, I'm just a person doing my best. I don't really have any sort of authority, and I'm glad that you would like to hear what I'd like to say. Let's see here. Okay, I know you kind of answered this in a live a couple weeks ago. I've heard rumors from locals when I was in Costa Rica about a hidden population of golden toads somewhere in Monteverde. I haven't heard of that. That'd be awesome. Since those went like fully extinct in the 70s. But I would love to go back and film a species back from the dead. Absolutely. I did not see any when I was there. I don't know where they would be. Monteverde is pretty chilly. There's actually not a ton of amphibian life up in the montane forests. So I'd be impressed to see. Would I ever go and film an expedition looking for them when you can afford it? Sure. Sure. Would I lead a tour somewhere? I would say probably a few of the places I'd be most qualified to take people on a tour. Pretty familiar with Costa Rica. Very familiar with Texas. Pretty familiar with Thailand. So those would probably be the few places I could go. I'd like to spend more time in Australia, but I'd like to get to the point where I could, really help people target specific things that they're wanting to look for and things like that. Well, I think we're pretty much done for today. You all had a bunch of questions. I really appreciate Steve's donation, and I think we're going to shut it down right about an hour 12. And like I said, we've got our shirts, we've got our hoodies. That's in a link in the description. We have our Patreon in the description below. I would encourage you, before you guys leave, okay, it really, really, really helps me and the algorithms to just go down into the actual comments of the video, not the live chat, and comment something positive. Just like, hey, great video. Hey, liked it. Oh, it was great. Thanks for answering my question. Things like that. Commenting on all of my videos would be great. And share as much as you want. Like I said, get some merch. Start repping some merch. People ask you about it. Tell them it's the coolest YouTube channel they know. And I hope you all enjoyed all the questions that were answered today. And I will see you guys next week, next Sunday. I'm hoping to have another video uploaded next Saturday. And we'll keep going from there. So I appreciate you. I love you all. And just keep watching, keep sharing, and keep doing what you're doing. So I'll be signing off, and I will see y'all next week.